Hello and welcome to episode 23 of a Disney Life podcast. My name is Rachel and I'm joined here today by my co host, Missy. Hello, Missy.
Hi, Rachel. Good to chat with you today.
Same here. So, today we are actually chatting about Cape May Cafe. So, this restaurant is located inside of Disney's Beach Club Resort. We will also discuss our top 5 buffets at Walt Disney World while we're on the topic. We have a question about young children eating at buffets at Walt Disney World. And finally, Missy will close us out with her tip of the week. So, Cape May Cafe is a New England inspired buffet restaurant located inside Disney's Beach Club Resort. This is inside of the lobby right when you walk in. It's on the same side where the check in desks are located. So, it would be opposite of where Bell Services is located, as well as the gift shop area. But Cape May Cafe is open for breakfast and dinner. It features American and seafood offerings there. But the restaurant itself inside, when you walk in, the colors are light pastel pinks and greens. There's kind of waves loosely built into the decor there too. And then the buffet area is a large center open area with 2 different lines going through. They kind of make a large square right in the middle of the restaurant there. So the colors are very reminiscent of the rest of the beach club. You can see it if you're walking down the hallway. You'll have no problem accessing the restaurant because the tables are kind of jutted up there right next to where other guests are traveling. So it's good for people watching depending on where you are too. But Missy, what kind of experiences have you had there in recent travel?
So, actually, going way back to when my kids were pretty young, our very first experience and reason to ever visit the Beach Club Resort was to dine at Cape May Cafe. So, this was back during the time of when the dining plan was pretty new and we were trying to get the best bang for our buck. Back then, the best value for us was eating all the food we could eat to feed our young family for as little money as possible. And I think the dining plan was, I don't know, $34.99 back then, if I remember correctly. So it was kind of a steal, especially since we were dining there with a young child and then an infant as well. I remember my first impression walking into the lobby of Disney's Beach Club Resort was, wow, this place is really fancy. We could never stay here. And that's actually a memory that I didn't have until you were just doing the intro. It's not something I was prepared to talk about today, really, but I'm laughing to myself about it because so far this year I have stayed at the beach club 3 times. So I guess it ended up not being too fancy for us after all. And if you keep an eye out for some discounted offers, it could be a really great option depending on the budget for your family. The one thing that I love about it, and one of the reasons we chose to visit Cape May Cafe, is because of its close location to Epcot. So the Beach Club Resort is part of the whole boardwalk area, which is at the International Gateway entrance to Epcot. So it was a very easy place to get to from the park. And of course, we've talked here before about transportation options and getting to and from different places around Disney World. But if you're new to the episode, new to the podcast, and thank you for joining us for this episode, to get to the Beach Club Resort, you can either take a boat from Hollywood Studios or walk from the studios. And there's also the Skyliner option. From Epcot, it's just a very quick walk. And if you're coming from one of Disney's other parks, you would simply take the Beach Club Resort bus to get there from either Disney's Animal Kingdom or Magic Kingdom theme park. So it's pretty easy to get to as a family. You just can't head direct resort to resort unless you're right there in that area already. So that would be the Yacht Club, the Boardwalk Inn, and then the Swan and Dolphin and Swan Reserve as well. So like I said, our first experience was when my kids were pretty young and we had a great dinner there. So things have changed a little bit since then because now the crab legs are not included and it's very controversial. I know there. Are you a crab leg fan,
I
Rachel?
am. In fact, I think it was probably Cape May Cafe where I had my first crab legs. So this was prior to,
Really?
yes, I
Okay.
believe that it was prior to them being an additional charge, but I think this was my first crab leg experience.
Okay. Well, good to know.
Yeah.
So I love crab legs, but I didn't often eat them there because I wouldn't want to deal with the mess. So much respect to anybody who is put together enough that they could get inside the crab legs, crack them open and eat them and not be a disaster.
We were staying there. The only time that I've had dinner there, we were staying at the beach club, so it's easy to if you get messy, it's easy just to go and change or cleaned up afterward.
One of the things I remember from our first trip there was the restroom that's available in the lobby of the beach club, which is actually not the closest to Cape May. There's kind of one on either side, one out by the lobby, and then there's one on the other side of Cape May that you'd probably use if you were a guest there. But I could remember walking into the restroom and they had cloth towels, like washcloths, to dry your hands, all rolled up and on display in a nice little basket. And it looked so nice. And I thought, how am I supposed to wash my crab leg fingers in this sink and dry my hands off? And that was a lot of the reason I thought, "Oh, we are in the wrong place here." But but we learned very quickly that Disney's welcoming to families, and we were not in over our heads.
Yeah.
So to speak. So, like you mentioned, the decor in there, it's a beachy vibe, reminiscent of Cape May up in New Jersey. The one thing I've noticed there over the years, I don't think they've really ever redecorated since I've been going there. The beach chairs that decorate the walls, they have like the wooden beach chairs with the cloth seats on them. They still look very nice colored to me, more of a pastel kind of vibe.
Yes, and I would agree too. I think that if you look at the restaurant itself, the pastel greens that are kind of used on the benches and the carpet, that looks fine. But the walls are kind of a pastel coral pink color, and that to me looks very 90s. So I would agree that I don't know that it's undergone major refurbishment since then.
Now, I'm not calling for a refurbishment. I like it just the way it is. So if they were to take those beach chairs off the walls and pull down the beach umbrella decorations, there could possibly be an uproar from some, and I may be a little sad about it. But if you've been there at any time over at least the last 15 years, it still looks the same as it did back
Yeah.
then. And I'd be willing to bet it's been this way for much longer than that, even. So we had dined there for dinner for our first trip there. But over the years, breakfast kind of became our preferred meal there because characters are available only at breakfast. So, Rach, I would imagine your kids are probably at a perfect age at this point for that type of character interaction there.
Yes, we've actually, gone to so the character breakfast is called Minnie's Beach Bash Breakfast, and it features Minnie. Also, typically, you can find Daisy, Donald, and Goofy there too. You will not find Mickey Mouse there, so keep that in mind. If you're looking for a character breakfast centered around Mickey Mouse, you do not have the complete Fab Five. He will not be there. But we do like it. We've gone there several times since my kids have been little. A lot of the times we're put as you're going to the restaurant itself, as you're walking in, there's the buffet area on the left with a lot of tables and seating around that. On the right-hand side, though, there's another room in there where you can sit, and we are typically put in that room because it does hold a lot of large parties. And there's nothing really particular fancy or spectacular about that room. It's just another space to put there. But yeah, we've gone there several times. I like the breakfast a lot. The breakfast is actually my favorite breakfast on property, which isn't saying a whole lot because I'm not a breakfast eater, but I think they have a fantastic selection.
So it's funny that you mentioned being seated in that room because when you first started describing it, what came to my mind was she means the overflow room. I have never once been seated in that room. I've often seen those doors closed off if I'm
Oh,
picturing the
really?
right place. So what I'm talking about is when you walk past the podium and enter the restaurant,
Mhm.
usually the desserts are directly in front of you, and to the right is what I'm considering the
Yes, they
overflow room. Is that
usually
where you're
yes,
talking about?
yeah, yeah, and so,
Okay.
even in the morning, sometimes they may I don't say an omelet station, there's something there located there, but yeah, when it's right past the podium and
Yeah.
then you head right, yeah, so we've sat in there more often than not lately, but we have a big party, maybe we're going at peak breakfast time too, so I can imagine as dinner time, as the restaurant's slowing down, there's no reason to have that room open.
Okay, I think you are right. And I did not have an omelet the last time I was there. The last time I had breakfast there was in July of this year. We
Mhm.
are recording this in October of 2025. So it was pretty recent as far as Disney travels go. It is also worth mentioning that the characters there are dressed in their beach wear. So it's not the typical costumes that you would see them in the park. They are in their beach attire. So that makes it a little extra fun also. And like with most character meals, they seem to be very generous with the time they spend with you. This is not a fast interaction that hurry up and get the selfie
Mhm.
before Goofy goes away. it's more likely that they will come around again for a second time to visit your family than not. Although maybe that's just because we take a long time to eat. But, if you're approaching like 45 minutes to an hour of being there, it's very possible that the characters will come by and stop by or at least give you a wave again during your meal because they do. It's a small enough restaurant that the characters have plenty of time to get adequate time
Yeah.
with everybody.
And I
So
think
that's a lot of fun too.
And I think with buffets, your turnover can be so quick too that the characters need to keep cycling through because a table that was there 10 minutes ago, maybe not there now at this point. I know we had breakfast there together in February, and Minnie was very generous with her time. I think just about everybody had their own picture with Minnie. We got a couple of group shots with Minnie too, and that was a lot of fun because we had a group. I don't know, we had several of us, and we were all women that morning. None of the
You
guys
were
that were
not
with
in the
us.
overflow room that
Not in the
morning.
overflow, no, we were out in the hallway. I think I saw you in the hallway. I think that's how you found us because you joined us. This was our departure
Yeah,
day.
so I was not so full disclaimer, I was not there as part of that meal. I was there with the group. I opted out of breakfast that morning because I was leaving and I stopped to say goodbye to everybody. And I think it was Minnie Mouse that was at the table at the time and she was saying, "Sit down," like
Yeah.
pointing to the seat and telling me I'm like, "I don't belong here. I'm not going to just come and encroach on all the paid guests." I certainly wasn't eating anything at that
Yeah,
point, but I did pop in to say goodbye to you all before
yes.
heading to the airport.
I'll have to check if you made the group photo on there. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. But yes, we were sitting right along the exterior. Well, it's not an exterior wallway, but into where the rest of the beach club is, where there's a long hallway there. Kind of if you're walking around the inside heading towards the beaches and cream area, if you're going to use the inside walkways and pathways to get over towards that area. But you can see inside the restaurant into all of that. And if you're like us sitting alongside that, you can talk to passersby and tell them to come join you a chat before they leave.
So, of course, this is a buffet where you will be going up to the stations and serving yourself. But it is worth noting that they do have cast members there to take your drink orders and to clear your plates. In my experience, they have always been very attentive. I have always loved our servers at Cape May Cafe. I recall one that I don't remember his name right now off the top of my head, but I think he was even there in January with you, Rachel, that was singing Happy Birthday. He has a very powerful voice, and he was singing loud enough for everyone in the restaurant to hear to somebody around, and
Yes,
they
and
just, go the extra mile to make it fun.
I think I know exactly who you're talking about, and I think we talked to him for a moment. I don't think he was our server, but he was serving the table beside
He
us?
was nearby. I
Yes,
think he
and
was a friend of Katie's,
probably
honestly. Katie's
well,
joined us
yes,
on our
yeah.
podcast
Well,
before,
we have
and that track. She
I
has a
have
lot
more
of
on
beach
that.
club
We got the
friends.
hookup from a friend of Katie's who I think was acting I don't know if he was acting as a character attendant that day or if he was serving, but he brought us Oreo bonbons, which are not a breakfast item, and those are fantastic for a dinner dessert, but he brought some of those to us, and, so we had some of those, but this waiter, I think he told us he spoke several different languages. Do you remember that? I don't remember. He spoke multiple languages, which I thought was really neat. I don't remember where he was from exactly, but I know that he told us that he spoke a lot of different languages but yes, he had a big booming voice and he was into it. The characters will come out, they'll play a song about every 30 minutes and the characters will come out and dance and he was dancing right along with them. He enjoyed his job and that makes the experience all that much more enjoyable too.
Absolutely. And those Oreo bonbons are something that were controversial a few years ago because you used to be able to get them, I think in packets of 3 maybe. They were pre-boxed at the marketplace, at the Beach Club marketplace. So you can go anytime and get them to go. So now they're a little more difficult to get. I think they have them at times up in the club level lounge, upstairs if you're staying concierge there at the Beach Club. But then dinner time at the Cape May Cafe is the only other time you're able to get them. So that was a special treat for us that
Yes,
morning.
it was, yes.
I so I and I think I did end up having one of those, even though I wasn't technically there for breakfast because there was an extra one available that was going to go to waste, and
Yeah.
and it was a bonus thing, not something
Yes.
anybody had paid for. So the interesting thing to me with this is that the pricing for breakfast and dinner is the same. So you'll be paying $49 per adult and $33 per child plus tax. And keep in mind, and gratuity, of course,
Mhm.
gratuity is not included in that. Keep in mind that at Disney, you are a child if you are age 3 to 9. And If you're 10 or older, you are paying the adult price for that buffet. So, again, that's something that when my kids were in that sweet spot, like yours are right now, buffets were very popular for us because they were at a pretty good rate and there was plenty of food available. So, they also have a pretty generous bar there, like pretty much a full bar offering with some specialty drinks and specialty non-alcoholic drinks the kids can order also. I think that's probably a more popular thing for dinner than it is for breakfast,
I think
especially
so too.
the alcohol, especially, but for the kids' specialty drinks, you see them advertised a lot along with dinner. So the beach club does that, have those also. I guess we should talk a little bit about specifically what type of food they have on their buffet because we did say it is seafood. It is not only seafood, though. And of course, like with all Disney restaurants, if you do have a food allergy, it's something that you would want to speak to your server about as soon as you arrive so that they can help accommodate that safely for you.
Yes, and I mentioned the breakfast being my favorite breakfast on property, but I'm not a big breakfast eater or fan of breakfast foods, but they do have a lot of I really consider this one to be more of an upscale buffet, if that makes sense, for breakfast, that I find the offerings to be a little bit nicer. Now they do have your potato barrels or tater tots, whatever you wanna call them. They'll have biscuits and
The
gravy.
necessities, they
Yeah,
have the
necessities,
necessities.
scrambled eggs, bacon, sausage, all those kinda things, but they usually always have,
Hey, Rachel.
yes.
Rachel, are you going to eat your tots?
Missy's talking about my
No, no,
absolute
you're
love for
not
the
into
movie
Napoleon
Napoleon
Dynamite
Dynamite,
today.
and, when we were on a trip in July, I really almost bought tater tots one morning and stuck them in my pocket and started eating them during our tour just to see if she would notice, but we didn't have time to go get them. Actually, no, they didn't have tater tots, so I couldn't do it. That's why.
That's the only thing that stopped you was
It's
the
the
lack
only
of
thing that stopped
tots.
me. I had a Ziploc bag. I was gonna put some tater tots in my pocket and eat them during the tour. But
I don't think Napoleon Dynamite used a plastic baggie for his though,
I'm
so you
going
still
to.
would have been
I
level
am
up for
going to.
him.
I take issue with that. So, I will say, they also the last few times that I've been to Cape May, they've also had crepes. These have already been made, but you can tell they were made in-house, and they've got some different kind of toppings that you could put on there, some berry compote or some chocolate chips, and usually some of the big fluffy whipped cream, freshly made whipped cream that you can find and put it on there. So I do think they have a little bit better of a selection compared to someplace like Chef Mickey's, but I think Chef Mickey's, the big draw of that is Mickey Mouse too, and being in the contemporary. So I do like the breakfast selections that they have. I also had it was almost like a Mexican style hash that they had a tortilla and you could kind of make like a little breakfast burrito with it. That was delicious. I remember that was really good. I think I ended up getting 2 of those and going back for those. But yes, dinner is the same price and I think that because you're dealing with one having characters and one not. So for dinner, we do have more seafood options. Obviously located there. There's typically a New England style clam chowder with some other soups, a seafood pasta salad, carving stations, a fried seafood selection, and then they'll have a New
Yeah,
England.
I think they usually have like a fried clam strips and fried shrimp, that sort of things. Sometimes that works better for some of the younger kiddos. If you don't have kids who have really had much experience with seafood and they're a little hesitant to try it, not something I'm familiar with because we are fishermen in this family and seafood is something my kids have been exposed to since they were very young. So they do not have fear of seafood, but we have been there with kids before who, maybe they don't really want to eat that clam when it looks like it does in the show,
Yeah.
but a clam strip, that's a different thing. It's kind of like a kid type offering, I think. Acceptable for anybody, but
Yeah.
a good starter option, I think, for kids with seafood.
And if you aren't a big seafood fan, they also have roasted chicken too. And then they're going to have a children's selection that usually has pizza or macaroni and cheese, chicken tenders, some kind of pasta dish. So if you are like my family, where my husband and I are huge fans of seafood, but our children kind of getting into it, depends on what it is. That you've got other options for your children there too, or picky adults who don't like seafood and just want to go get some macaroni and cheese and chicken and pasta as well. So, it also says that the stow crab legs, I guess you can get them per pound. Does that sound correct?
Yeah, they're $29 per pound is how
Wow.
they sell them now. So it's a per pound type thing. And that's an optional add-on. Of course, that would be in addition to the $49 per person you're paying for the meal. And since it is per pound, not per person, I guess you could technically share those if you'd like with somebody, or purchase as many pounds as you would like. That's up to you. But
Yeah.
as Rachel had mentioned, they do have a carving station, so there's usually a beef and a pork there. I think so. There are things for people who aren't there for the seafood. There is a little kiddie station as well. I think there's usually a plain pasta with some type of marinara sauce on the side you could put on that. I think they had some chicken drumsticks or something like that. There were not chicken tenders from
Okay.
what I recall the last time I was there, or even chicken nuggets, but they did have different seasonings and things on the side too. There's like a container of Old Bay, which is a
Yeah.
popular thing. You can add that if you'd like. And there's usually corn on the cob. So all of the makings of a standard seafood boil as well too. One thing that I think is very important to keep in mind, if you do not like seafood, but you're traveling with somebody who does, this may not be your best option because the entire area of the beach club resort, from the entrance of the lobby, down and around the hall, out past the restrooms into where the Martha's Vineyard lounge area is, will smell like seafood from approximately 4:30, 4:45 p.m. on
Yeah.
every day, and it is a very strong seafood smell. I love seafood. I do not like how it smells and during that time. So I think maybe if you're actually consuming it, you don't notice it as much, but even just walking through that area of the resort, very strong seafood
Yeah, well,
smell.
I was thinking just the containers of Old Bay. Old Bay has a very distinctive smell that I could imagine that is gonna show up too. So I'll also mention too, breakfast is the much more popular meal here. Not only is it a character meal, but you don't have the distinct seafood smell and flavor at breakfast. But I
It
like
really does go away. I don't know how
yes,
they
it
do that.
does.
Like, I
Yeah.
know if I fry fish in my house at night, it still stinks the next morning. It does not smell like seafood during the day there at the beach club. Oh,
No.
maybe it's not really the food that smells. Maybe they're piping in the
Here's some
seafood
seafood
smell,
smell.
and that's
How do you
why it's
the
so
the
overpowering.
smell of shrimp, like
Hey, listen, they do it everywhere else, so
yeah,
I don't
right?
really think it's that far out of the
Yeah.
question. Next time we're there, we'll be looking for the scent machine.
Yeah. Asking about it. So I will say one thing. I looked at reservations yesterday just out of curiosity. Breakfast is a lot harder to find reservations for, not impossible. I wouldn't say this is by far the most popular character breakfast meal on property, but it is popular. Dinner reservations, though, were wide open every single day except for Thanksgiving. So
Oh, wow.
this is a great meal if you are in the Epcot area and you just want a quick place to go and get off your feet and have a nice meal and you enjoy seafood. This is something that you're probably going to be able to find availability at for dinner time. And dinner runs, what time does it start? 5 p.m.
5. Yep, it's
Yep.
5 to 9 p.m.
Yeah, 5 to
The
9 p.m.
are the reservation time. So I would imagine it's really 10 o'clock or so or after before they're really cleared out for the
Yes.
night.
And they start piping in the other beach club smells.
That's right.
Yeah.
Let's get the breakfast smell out now because it's
Yes.
10 p.m. Yeah. And I think the breakfast usually runs 7:30 to 11:30
Yeah.
a.m. each
So
day.
you
So
kind of
it's a good window for breakfast too.
Yes, yes. So it's kind of almost a brunch type experience, but you don't really have brunch type foods, as opposed to Chef Mickey's calls their breakfast a brunch, doesn't or is it their lunch they call a brunch? One of the meals they call a brunch, which is kind of weird, but but you can go later in the morning.
I think it might be their lunch. Is it
Yeah.
because they're open all day, aren't they
Yes,
at
they
Chef
are open all day.
Mickey's?
So I do believe you're correct that they call their lunch kind of a brunch. So it's kind of tricky when looking for reservations sometimes depending on the time of day, depending on what type of meal you put in and whether or not it's going to show up.
Do you remember the French toast bread pudding that they used to have at breakfast?
I do. Yes.
It was so delicious. I had it one time, I believe it was February of 2013.
Mhm.
Like, I swear it was the next week they announced it was off the menu. It may have not been that quick. It seemed it at the time. I will have to go back and fact check that to see if I can find any conversation on the internet about it being removed. I swear, like, I discovered it, declared my love for it, and then they took it away.
Well,
Very not fair.
yes. Now they have some kind of salted caramel beach buns that they serve with vanilla cream, so I guess it's kind of a
Mhm.
play on the old bread pudding. Bread pudding, it really depends on what's in it for me, that if I'm going to like it or not, but I do find Disney World typically makes decent bread pudding with what they have, so There's usually some kind of
I don't think I've ever had bread pudding anywhere else in my entire life. I'm trying to think of anywhere else I would have had it, but I absolutely love it, of course, at
Mhm.
Ohana. It's fantastic there. I don't love the larger pineapple chunks that have shown up in it in more recent years, but I will still eat it
It's Ohana bread
because I
pudding,
don't
yeah.
have to have a reason, I just still eat it, even though I'm not a huge fan of pineapples. But I can't think of any other place I've ever had bread pudding, so it seems to be Disney's thing because I've had quite a few different bread puddings around Disney property. I guess maybe I need to have more bread pudding in
Yeah, I
my life
guess.
at home.
But they're usually very, very good, so that's a leg up that Disney has for their bread pudding, so go and try. The sticky buns, I don't recall seeing those there in February, but they did have something that you could put the cream sauce on, I do remember that.
They did have I'm pretty sure they had the buns when I was there in July. I
Okay.
think that's what they were serving. They brought them separately to the table. It wasn't something that was out on the
Okay,
I
that's
think.
interesting.
Maybe I'm lying. I'm pretty sure it happened though.
If you know what's happening with the sticky buns, please let us know.
Yes, somebody correct us.
Yes.
Somebody must know. So overall, I think Cape May Cafe is an excellent option, especially if you have the dining plan that you're using. It's an all you can eat buffet. So if you're looking for somewhere to you really fuel up for the day, it's a great place to do it. It's also a great place just to take a break. If you know you're going to be at Hollywood Studios or Epcot for the day and you don't think you can make that full entire day, park opening to park close, but you really want to be there first thing in the morning and at the end of the day, it's a great place to take a break in the afternoon. I will be honest and say that it takes a back seat for me most times because when we're at Beach Club, we tend to eat at Beaches and Cream.
A very healthy breakfast.
But quite honestly, by the time you pay $25 for your grilled cheese with bacon and $15 for your ice cream sundae, you might as well be next door at the buffet
Right,
because you're paying just
absolutely,
as
yeah.
much anyway.
Throw a character in on top of it too.
So, following right along with the theme of buffets today, our top five for today is the top five, our top five personal favorite buffet meals at Walt Disney World. So, there are quite a few of them. And when we first chose this as our top five, I thought, are there even five? And then I started making my list and thought, okay, well, now I need to narrow it down to only five because there are quite a few.
Mhm.
So, Rachel, do you want to get us started here with your number five?
Yeah, our number 5 we just talked about, I would say Cape May breakfast. I'm gonna make the distinction of breakfast because I haven't had a dinner experience there recently, but, yes, Cape May breakfast.
Okay, so my list, I kind of just made it more of these are my top like 3 to 5, and then these are my top 1 and 2.
Okay.
So in an effort to not be redundant here and speak about the same thing over and over, Kate May did make my top 3 to 5. So
Okay,
we'll
well,
go ahead and I will
that's
claim that
funny.
there.
Okay. All right. Well, my number 4 then, let's move on to that, is Chef Mickey's. So
Okay.
I know for many people that's probably going to be their number 1 on property, but I think there's better food to be had. Although I will say the last dinner experience that I had there was very much enjoyable. I have had a brunch and a breakfast experience there recently. And breakfast is just my least favorite meal overall, but brunch was kind of lacking in some food areas. But I did find dinner there to be nice last time. Right, what about you? Is that did that make 3 to 5 or were okay. Okay.
So Chef Mickey's doesn't really make any list of mine. Unless the list is like, list the 5 meals you really don't wanna have to repeat at Walt Disney World. And, we never even really had a bad experience there, but we've never had a great experience there either. So, I just think there are a lot better options there. Now, if you've never been to Disney World, or if you really wanna eat with Mickey and his friends, and you wanna see the contemporary resort and experience the monorail traveling through there. All incredible experiences that everyone should do at least once in their life. So I will give you that. If you've already done all of those things and you are satisfied with your experiences, I suggest staying over at the Magic Kingdom
Well, and if you
and
have young
dining
children
with Pooh and friends.
yes.
Because if you stay over there at the Crystal Palace, where they are open and happen to be number 4 on my list,
Okay.
they're there all day long, breakfast, lunch, and dinner with the buffet with Winnie the Pooh and friends. You have a beautiful castle view right outside of the restaurant. It's in the heart of the Magic Kingdom. So that is why it's the number 4 on my list.
So that's number 3 on my list. That is actual number 3, and I do enjoy dinner there. Dinner there is great, and I when Disney had some special offerings for the 50th anniversary celebration, they put in some old items that were some of Walt's favorites. I really think the Crystal Palace upped their game quite a bit, and I think the food there has been spectacular in recent years, and there's a large variety, a great variety of desserts too, and, Winnie the Pooh was the first character that my youngest did not cry when she saw.
Oh, wow, how what does that say for all of the other
I know,
characters?
well, and I'm excited this time. I know it's gonna be a lot different, a lot more exciting. Last time she didn't cry. She was excited to see Mickey and Minnie and Pluto from a distance. This time she actually but when we went to the Crystal Palace a couple of days later, she actually smiled at Winnie the Pooh. So, this
Aw,
year, I'm sure she'll want to bring them home. So, we'll see how it goes.
that is sweet. Very sweet.
Yes, alright, so what rounds out your 3 to 5 list?
So, in my last of my top 3 to 5, it's the characters over at Hollywood in Vine at Disney's Hollywood Studios. I love that they change seasonally, the characters swap their costumes, and, there's different characters through the year. So, I think it's a really fun in-park experience. It's a great way to relax for a bit. I guess if you can consider it's not relaxing. I mean, there's nothing relaxing about having to go up and get your own food and constantly being interrupted by a character. So just keeping it real here about how buffets are in real life at Walt Disney World. You serve yourself and somebody constantly comes over when you're trying to chew your food to interact with you.
Mhm.
But other
And
than
get a
that,
yeah, yeah.
it's a place to sit. It's air conditioned. You're going to have a seat and, you can have some food and drink there. So, I love Hollywood and Vine. Going back all the way to the days of Playhouse Disney and JoJo's Circus. I remember meeting JoJo and Goliath there, the little Einsteins there. I miss them greatly, but it is still a very fun meal.
Yeah, I wish they still had Jake from Jake and the Neverland Pirates 'cause, my son went through a huge Jake and the Neverland Pirates phase, and that would have been nice to see, but, oh well.
Aw. Yeah.
So, number 2 and number 1 are gonna have a bit of a theme for me. Number 2 for me is
Hmm.
Tusker House, located at Disney's Animal Kingdom. I love Tusker House. I love to get a late breakfast at Tusker House and move into the lunch changeover or get the last possible dinner reservation that I can. Seeing the characters in their safari gear, super cute. And I love the food. I love the different flavors, the different pastries that you can find at breakfast. I think it's just a unique and fun environment.
So remember what I said about Chef Mickey's being at the top of the list of places I wouldn't want to go?
Is this one there
I need to
too?
edit my list because I forgot about 2 locations. And I have a feeling the other one is your number 1. For no other reason than I am an individual who cannot eat corn, and I swear everything at them has some corn component to it, and it is a buffet that I have left not enjoying, but great for you.
Yeah.
I'm glad that and I agree, the safari characters there are super fun. I've been there a few times. It's a lot of fun. My number 2 is not really a traditional buffet type option, but it's actually a buffet add-on at one of the resort hotels to a regular restaurant. So over at Disney's Yacht Club Resort, which is the sister resort to the beach club that we were talking about, where Cape May Cafe is located, they have a restaurant called Ale and Compass. And Ale and Compass for breakfast has a regular standard menu where you can get things like Mickey waffles and traditional breakfast things, but they also have a small continental buffet. And it's usually around $28, which is not inexpensive, but it's actually a pretty good price for an all you can eat type breakfast. Now, you're not going to have a full buffet spread on it, but they do have continental type items. There will be fruit and yogurt. There's usually a pretty big variety of pastries and some delicious cinnamon rolls. So it's a great option if you want to fill up but not too full because when you consider what you spend on a regular breakfast somewhere else, it's a pretty good value. So Ale and Compass and their continental breakfast buffet. And it's only a breakfast thing. That's not a dinner option. They don't have any dinner stuff out there. It's just a continental breakfast.
Yeah, I've never done that before. I know that when I was there trapped for the hurricane at All Star Music, they did actually do a dinner buffet there because our friend Katie that has been on the show, she was staying there with her mom, and so we were talking about food options at the resort, how we were gonna survive 2 days of lockdown, and she was talking about that the buffet was open for dinner, so I thought that was interesting. All
That
right.
is, I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. So, I guess if there's a hurricane, you're stuck in there, they'll give you a dinner buffet too.
Stay at the yacht. That's a good place to be. Yeah.
Yes. All right, my number 1, I said there was a theme. My number 1, hands down, favorite meal, I would eat there multiple times every trip that I could, is Boma. I love Boma, the flavors. There's an entire bar of soups, and it's wonderful and cozy, and they have fantastic selections, and I guess they use corn a lot, so I'm terribly sorry about
They
that.
do. Is it corn soup and soup with corn and a corn chowder? Because I swear that's all they had the last time I ate dinner there. I can remember being so excited again. I think this was on the same trip when we visited Cape May for the first time because it we were learning all about the dining plan and taking advantage of that dining plan, and it was a huge deal to go all the way to Animal Kingdom Lodge, which I will still say to this day, all the way to
Yes.
Animal Kingdom Lodge because it is does not feel super close to anything, which it shouldn't because it's out on a safari
Yeah,
where
it's
the animals are. So it
Animal
has to be
Kingdom.
way out there. Makes sense. Not knocking it, just saying. And I can remember arriving there and getting off the bus. And this was before Uber and Lyft. It was very different visiting Disney World back before Uber and Lyft existed because you needed to solely rely on Disney's transportation unless you were a super rich person and can use a taxi. And that was not me.
Right.
Never, never ever. But, yeah, did not love that meal, but maybe someday I'll try it again. I'll have to take a look at their current menu and see how many things have corn in them. But, so for my 1900 Park Fair, it really wins out more from nostalgia than anything else. And if you've listened to the podcast before, you know I'm pretty nostalgic about a lot of things. A lot of things I talk about are memories from when my kids were little, and started our traditions of our annual and monthly trips, quarterly trips, I guess, is kind of what we've gotten to at this point. But my youngest daughter, Anastasia, was actually named because of a character interaction at a buffet, and that took place at 1900 Park Fair at Disney's Grand Floridian Resort. And it made me laugh, Rachel, when you were mentioning how your little one didn't cry at Winnie the Pooh because when my oldest was my little one, she was about 2.5 years old. We were there, and I was pregnant with my youngest, and she loved Anastasia so much. We had such a fun character interaction with her that she started calling the baby in my belly Anastasia.
Oh, I
And
did not know this story.
yeah, this is a true story. I'm not making it up just for all of our listeners. True story. And she just started calling the baby in my belly Anastasia. And fun also, we nicknamed her Annie because of Annie from the Little Einsteins, because that was another
That's
favorite
sweet.
of Gracie. So we've got character buffet written all over our family. You could tell if
Yeah.
you've seen us. So we went through this entire year, went back for the first time with our tiny little baby Anastasia. She was wearing actually a Cinderella dress, and my oldest daughter, Gracie, had her aunt custom make her an Anastasia gown so
Oh,
that she can go back and match Anastasia. And I was so prepared for this incredibly magic moment that I was certain was going to be ahead of me. And you know how Anastasia yells. It's part of what Gracie loved about her. She was so loud and she looked at Gracie and she screamed so loud. Gracie got under the table and she hid and she cried
no.
because Anastasia called Drizella over and she's like, look what she's wearing. Look what she's wearing. Because I think it was probably pretty rare that someone would show up
Yes,
for this character meal dressed as one of the stepsisters. Their costumes were not readily available. Like I said, my sister needed
ever.
to make it
Yeah.
for her. I'm sure we have photos of this meal. Maybe I could pop some up here for for our online viewer. But then when we told her that our little tiny princess, who was only 8 months old at the time, was dressed as Cinderella, but her name was Anastasia, she looked at Gracie and she told her she was in the wrong dress. And Gracie was mortified and she was so upset. And we left there hungry because our
Oh,
kids screamed and carried on so much. But I do have an adorable photo of Annie with bright hot pink, I think it is, lipstick on her cheek because Anastasia gave her a kiss.
oh,
And it is a meal that we've returned to many times since then, but back in the day, it was a special place for us. So I was very disappointed after the shutdown in 2020 when it took so long to reopen. I think it was one of the very last restaurants that they
yeah.
finally reopened. And when they did, alas, the good old days had ended. Our characters as we knew them were no longer there. And now we have characters there who are based on making wishes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a strange combination if you were to just hear, is it It's Aladdin. Cinderella is still there,
Mhm.
so that's nice that Cinderella's still there. Mirabelle and Princess Tiana, but Tiana is not in her gown. She's
No,
in her,
like
her outfit like it the
Venturer
Bayou, right?
Tiana, Explorer Tiana, yeah,
Right.
yeah. It's a cute outfit, but, definitely a different feeling. Cinderella is really the only one that well, the other characters are in kind of iconic outfits, but as far as a princess meal goes, it's kind of odd having Cinderella dressed as Cinderella and then Tiana in a different outfit than what you would
And her
expect.
Bayou Adventure outfit,
Yes.
yes, that is different, but, I guess it's all about making wishes now, which is a lot of fun. I know they said, those Cinderella stepsisters and Lady Tremaine had been there back in the day also, they weren't as recognizable. I would argue they were not recognizable back in 2009, 2010 either. My kids only knew them because they went to this meal, it was a special thing, and that's when we started watching Cinderella 2 and other DVDs that were out at the time. Curious if they're on Disney Plus. I'll have to take a look at that because it's been a while since I watched
I
those
know at
oldies.
least I know Cinderella 1 and 2 are because my daughter went through a Cinderella
Okay.
phase for a bit, but 1900 Park Fair was something that I had not done since I was a little girl. I have a picture of myself
Mm.
with Mary Poppins at the restaurant, and,
Right, because it was Mary at breakfast,
yeah,
right?
yes,
So it was Cinderella and Prince Charming, Lady Tremaine and Anastasia and Drizella at
mhm.
dinner, but then breakfast was who was it? Mary Poppins and was Bert
Bert?
there?
Yes, Bert was there. I don't exactly remember any of the other characters, but I was disappointed when the characters changed. I would have loved I think my kids would have enjoyed the interactions with the stepsisters and would have taken,
Mhm.
a lot of fun with that, but, it is what it is.
Yeah, I think they called it I think the breakfast was called the supercalifragilistic breakfast
It was something
back
along
in the
those
day.
lines. It was like a yeah, they played on those words, but so yeah, but that was a really long, 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 long time ago. But, I do have that photo somewhere. I wouldn't couldn't tell you where, but it's somewhere.
Well, that's a lot of fun, and I think just in general, going to the Grand Floridian, it's such a gorgeous resort. I know they're doing a lot of work right now on the lobby, and hopefully that'll be wrapped up soon. They recently put in new carpeting, and they're putting in a new bar down in the kind of off to the center of the main lobby area. So just visiting that resort is something that I recommend to people, especially first timers. So I think it's fantastic that they have that restaurant open up again to be able to visit and having more of a reason to go there than to just kind of sightsee. So
Yes.
it's a fun monorail ride from the Magic Kingdom. There's just a lot of good things about it. I mean, it's not out in the middle of nowhere like your number one, but
Yeah.
you know, we can't all have the
But
best
it's
answer.
exotic. That's what makes it exotic. All right. So before Missy, we get to our question of the week. We kind of discussed this, but we haven't talked about it yet. We have some breaking news today, which will not be breaking by the time this episode airs in 3 weeks. So today, Disney Parks blog announced that Soarin' is changing for the celebration of the United States of America's 250th birthday next year. So this isn't a question. This isn't a top five buffet, but we thought what we should mention at least.
This is just great excitement,
Yes.
really.
Yeah.
So I loved Soarin' over California. I was enthused when Soarin' over the world started. I was more enthused when it was corrected many years later so that the screens were a little more even and you didn't have to tilt your head to see
Yep.
the Eiffel Tower. But this should be a lot of fun. I can't wait to see what areas of America they've chosen to feature in it. And I absolutely love that they brought back Patrick to make the announcement for us, complete with his red, white, and blue patriotic mouse ears. I thought that was a really fun announcement on the Parks blog today. We are recording this podcast on the day that it was announced, so it's new news to us. If you haven't heard yet, check it out online because it certainly should be a fun update for next year for America's 250th birthday.
Yes, distinctly patriotic, and I cannot wait to see what they do. All right. So for this week's question of the week, this is a very important listener question about dining at Disney World, specifically at buffets. So the question is, can my 2-year-old have their own plate at a buffet since we are not paying for their meal? So Missy, what would you recommend, suggest, and advise on that?
So, short answer, yes, they absolutely can. I have never had a time that the servers did not welcome that for them. It's just a benefit of visiting an all you can eat type meal like that, a buffet meal with young children. So, feel free to go ahead and get them a plate with a few things that they'll enjoy. You don't necessarily have to have them eat off of your own plate in that situation. So, like I had mentioned, if you have the dining plan or if you are traveling with young kids, those buffets can give you a lot of value,
Yeah.
especially going into 2026 when all of the Disney World Resort vacation packages include the dining plan for free with the adult purchase for all kids ages 3 to 9. So I feel like we may see some of these character options getting even more popular next year with that option. And this is not a special free dining offer. This is just the standard policy for 2026. So it is something that if you've booked a 2026 vacation package and you purchase the dining plan, it is included at no additional cost for your kiddos. So I think that's a great option.
Yeah. Something that we take advantage of quite a bit because, I've got 3 young children. My youngest is 2, and she will be 2 when we check in for our next trip. So buffets are fantastic for us, and sometimes I may just get like a small salad or dessert plate to put the food on for her instead of getting a giant plate for her. But
Right.
it's wonderful though, and it makes it really easy to be able to feed everyone in your group. I have never ages are always confirmed when we check in, or the server will confirm the ages of my children, and I've never had been questioned about it. Nobody's ever said anything about it for us to have her own plate, and, I think they do a really nice job of making sure that families feel welcome and comfortable there.
So if you have a question for us, we would love to hear it and we will try our best to answer it for you accurately. You can send us an email at a Disney Life at storybookdestinations.com or podcast at storybookdestinations.com. You could also find us on social media. We have a group on Facebook. We have an Instagram page and also TikTok. That's a Disney Life pod. So we would like for you to follow along there and interact with us a bit if you're interested. We're trying to make that a fun place and we appreciate you listening. But before we wrap up today, I do have a tip of the week for you. And staying on theme once again, it is a buffet related theme. Really, all table service meals that are the all you care to enjoy. So, in my experience, Disney is very generous with their portion sizes for their table service meals, and especially so if you're dining at a family style restaurant or a buffet. And most days, my family just can't eat 3 full meals a day. It is just too much food. You can go into it day 1 or 2 thinking you're going to do that, but it's not really going to pan out. And I was chatting with somebody recently. My daughter's high school band will be visiting Disney World for a stage performance this winter. And when they were putting the package together for this large band group, it was decided that they really only needed 2 meals a day for them as well, because there are so many fantastic snacks around at the resorts and at the parks. It's just not necessary to have that many meals. So that is all leading into my tip of the week, which is if you can schedule a table service meal for either late morning or early afternoon or early after or late afternoon, early evening, kind of at those in between times, not only is it possibly easier to get the reservation at off hours like that, but you can kind of make it extend a little further into the next mealtime. So rather than having a breakfast and then needing lunch right around noon or 1 o'clock, if you maybe just have a little snack in the morning and it'll hold you over to a late breakfast, like Rachel mentioned, the brunch over at Chef Mickey, something like that. You could really just extend that large meal and not have to worry about budgeting for 3 meals a day. You can easily get away with 2 meals and a snack for most people. So I think that's going to do it for episode 23. We appreciate you all listening. We hope that you're enjoying listening to us chat about the Disney lives that we have here at a Disney Life podcast. We have some fun travels coming up in the next few months, so we hope you'll stick around with us and tune in for those episodes as well. And we thank you for being here and hope to chat Disney with you again soon.